The same stable genius who said the biggest problem we had in the Revolutionary War is we didn't have enough airports.
What?
Whoa. Yo.
The worst of humanity. Oh.
I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun, and the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure. That women aren't just token members, but integral parts throughout all branches and all divisions, and that they can completely, fairly engage in promotion, compete all across the board, including on the, that both members of the military couples can thrive while serving.
Democratic presidential candidate Joseph Biden today faces a controversy. 3 weeks ago at a debate at the Iowa State Fair, he used phrases identical to those delivered by British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock.
Biden seemed to be claiming Kinnock's vision and life as his own.
Why is it that my wife, who's sitting out there in the audience, is the first in her family to ever go to college?
Why is Gladys the first woman in her family in 1,000 generations to be able to get to university?
My ancestors who worked in the coal mines in northeast Pennsylvania don't come up after 12 hours and play football.
8 hours underground and then come up and play football.
It's because they didn't have a platform upon which to stand.
There was no platform upon which they could stand.
The notion that every thought or notion or idea you'd have to go back and find and attribute to someone, I think is, quite frankly, ludicrous.
The problem here is that Senator Biden told his audience he'd just been thinking about these things, and he failed to give any credit at all to his famous British speechwriter.
You know, I was thinking on the way over here. Now that's a little too much, because, as you point out, what's behind the words? What's there? And a lot of people, the rap on Biden has always been that it's just a surface.
I should have said, to paraphrase Neil Kinnock, it's the only time I didn't, and all the times I've ever used it.
But CBS News found a tape of a second instance.
It reappeared in the New York Times with a new charge, that Biden had appropriated a famous litany from the late Robert Kennedy about what the gross national product cannot measure.
It cannot measure the health of our children,
The health of our children,
the quality of our education,
the quality of their education,
the joy of their play,
or the joy of their play.
Biden gave Kennedy no credit. He has also quoted or paraphrased John Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, and British Labour Party leader Neil Kinnock, all without credit.
Joseph Biden admitted today that he committed plagiarism when he was in law school. He said it was a mistake, but that it was unintentional.
He quoted 5 pages of someone else's work without proper citation.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again.
He was given an F.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've been dumb.
To the political community in Washington, it all seems of a piece. Plagiarism at law school, plagiarism on the stump.
The great communicator. Strike that. The great imitator.
You don't steal verbatim, or when you do, as he did 99% of the time, you give credit.
Biden's critics say he sells himself as a man whose words and visions can inspire a new generation in politics. But if the thoughts, phrases, and visions really belong to others, it's a form of false advertising.
Is it a wise idea, though, to take something that personal, anyway, from another politician and try and appropriate it to your own campaign?
I think it was a stupid thing to appropriate material that was really very personal, that was someone else's.
Most people didn't know who he was, you know, Joe Biden, and now they're going to say, oh yeah, he's the guy who plagiarized.
That's a lot of people.
Politically, that's devastating.
These clips are devastating. He looks like a Joe Biden wind-up doll with somebody else's words coming out.
If they're going to do things that are stupid as well as immoral, then they're probably too dumb to have the job of president.
Voters are going to have to decide whether he was dishonest or dumb.
Senator Joseph Biden may have more explaining to do.
The new questions stem from taped remarks of Biden during an April campaign appearance in New Hampshire.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and, in fact, ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Joe Biden ranked 76th in a class of 85 at the University of Syracuse Law School. I mean, this guy comes off this whole thing as a flyweight.
Now Biden says Newsweek is right. His memory had failed him.
And I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
Joe Biden was victimized by the truth.
Bye-bye Biden. He may not know it yet, but I think this is going to be very difficult for him to recover.
Is Joe Biden dead meat, yes or no?
I think so.
Bob?
It's in terminal condition.
Terminal. Eleanor?
Yes, unless he comes in third in Iowa.
Morton?
Dying.
I say dead. We'll be right back.
To deepening our cooperation to build out an open, secure G5 network. But there's to be, beginning this effort for 2021 is, I think we've learned a few lessons from last year as well. There's help being there to help clear roads, rebuild main streets, and so that the families can get back to their lives. That's what FEMA does every single day. I got hairy legs. I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
Today we'll be timing Joe Biden on how long it takes for him to flub a word or misspeak. His previous record was 13 seconds. Can he beat that record? Well, let's listen in.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Tonight?
Yeah, 3 seconds in. A new record.
One more thing. The vast majority of economists, left, right, and center, from Wall Street to the private economic polling initiatives. The economists, as I said, left, right, and center.
When you're having these conversations with European allies who are very concerned about these sanctions, how do you justify that? And what are your plans?
120 days. Give me a break. Need time.
How are your meetings going in Cornwall, Mr. President?
I beg your pardon?
How are your meetings going here in Cornwall?
Very well.
Come on.
Really nice to meet you. They always do. Sorry. Oh, Singman. So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway. And I told you I used to drive a school bus. I want to drive one of your electric school buses, okay? I got a license. I used to have my, anyway, okay?
My Coast Guard aides have been excellent. One of them taught me that, and I quote, "The Coast Guard is that hard nucleus about which the Navy forms in time of war."
I can only assume that you will enjoy educating your family about how the Coast Guard is, quote, the hard nucleus around the Navy forms in times of war. You're a really dull class. As the United States of America, that's the only way we're going to beat this virus, I promise you. The only way to spare more pain and more loss, the only way. These millstones no longer mark our national mourning. These milestones, I should say, no longer mark our national mourning. Turn this primary from a campaign that's about negative attacks into one about what we're for, because we cannot get reelected. We cannot win this reelection. Excuse me, we can only reelect Donald Trump. Bad news for you is I'm coming back. I'm coming back. And I want to see these beautiful young ladies. I want to see them dancing when they're 4 years older, too. Looking for my mask. I'm in trouble.
I'm so glad I finally found you. That's that one in a million, girl.
We're going to make it easier than ever to get vaccinated. Visit vaccines.gov, vaccines.gov, or text to. You know, the rapidly rising I don't know, his just inability to focus. It existed just when I came to the United States Senate 120 years ago. Now turn this over to the new team, starting with our next Secretary of Treasury, Janet Yellen. Again, Janet, thanks for accepting. Appreciate it. I think they're going to clean this off for us here.
In a weekend interview, Vladimir Putin laughed at the suggestion that you had called him a killer. Is that still your belief, sir, that he is a killer? And I'll continue the trend if you don't mind of asking a second question. Do you believe if he does agree to cooperate, then what kind of a challenge do you find yourself in? How would you ever trust him? And if Ronald Reagan said trust but verify, what do you say to Vladimir Putin?
To answer the first question, I'm laughing too. They actually, well, look, I mean, he has made clear that the answer is, I believe he has in the past essentially acknowledged that he was, there are certain things that he would do or did do.
Thank you, Dr. Pepper, and thank you, Chancellor, or Dr. Paper, and thank you, Chancellor.
A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America. Is the time to heed the timeless advice from Teddy Roosevelt. Speak softly and carry a big stick. End of quote. I promise you, the president has a big stick. I promise you. And Neil Smith, an old buddy. Are you here, Neil? Neil, I miss you, man. I miss you.
Chuck Graham, state senator's here. Chuck, stand up, Chuck. Let him see you. Oh, God love you. What am I talking about? I tell you what, you're making everybody else stand up, though, pal.
With regard to Russia, I know it concerns some of you, but I made very clear to Putin that we're not going to seek escalation.
I want to drive one of your electric school buses.
Well, look, we have great confidence in our son. I am not concerned about any accusations been made against him. It's used to get to me. I think it's kind of foul play, but look, it is what it is, and he's a grown man. He is the smartest man I know. I mean, in for the pure intellectual capacity, and as long as he's good, we're good.
Plans to
120 days. Give me a break.
Why are you so confident he'll change his behavior, Mr. President?
Yeah, I'm not confident changing behavior. What the hell? What do you do all the time?
So
when did I say I was confident?
You said in the next 6 months you'll be able to determine.
What I said was, let's get it straight. I said what will change their behavior is if the rest of the world reacts to them and it diminishes their standing in the world. I'm not confident of anything. I'm just stating the fact.
But given his past behavior has not changed, and in that press conference after sitting down with you for several hours, he denied any involvement in cyber attacks, he downplayed human rights abuses, he even refused to say Alexei Navalny's name. So how does that account to a constructive meeting as President Putin framed?
You don't understand that, you're in the wrong business.
Is the summit with China next?
I owe my last question an apology. I shouldn't have been such a wise guy with the last answer I gave. Look, to be a good reporter, you got to be negative. You got to have a negative view of life, okay? It seems to me, the way you never ask a positive question.
Mr. President, what did you order?
Chocolate chip. Oh, yeah. I'm especially honored to share the stage with Brittany and Jordan and Nathan and Margaret Catherine. I love those barrettes in her hair, man. I tell you what, look at her. She looks like she's 19 years old, sitting there with her, like a little lady with her legs crossed. Brittany, you're doing triple duty as a veteran, a military spouse, and a teacher.
Clip, a young girl catches Biden's attention. He then asks the 6-year-old girl if she's 17.
How old are you, 17? Oh, 6.
Face before her mother draws attention to the camera. Then strokes her hair and kisses her again. He then grabs on her face and hair again.
And here comes the train that he tried to make sure didn't continue to run. No, that's the commuter. All right. No, that's what. But folks, look. It's vaxxed or masked. With unity, we can do great things, important things.
And you are actively trying to diminish your Second Amendment right to take away the gun.
You're forced here. Now, go to shush. Shush. I support the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment, just like right now, if you yell fire, that's not free speech. But from the very beginning, I have a shotgun, I have a 20 gauge, a 12 gauge, my son's hunts. Guess what? You're not allowed to own any weapon. I'm not taking your gun away at all. You need 100 rounds.
You were a veto and you said you're going to take our guns.
I did not say that. That's not true. I did not say that. It's a viral video like the other ones they're putting out that are simply a lie.
Your voice, you said that you're taking the guns.
Oh, he just clarified it. Wait. Take your AR-14s and what?
Okay, this is not okay.
Hold on. Hey, let's
get
there's a lot of guys wanting this.
I'm not working.
So much.
Give me a break.
Don't be such a worry
about.
Hey, there's a lot of
Hey, look, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Are you able to own a machine gun? I said, are you able to own one? Under law.
Machine guns are illegal.
That's right. So AR-15's illegal.
How is that in a machine gun?
No, it's not.
Semi-automatic.
Yeah, do you need 100 rounds? Do you need 100 rounds?
In America, with handguns, and there are what you call assault rifles. Why are you advocating for assault rifles when people are buying for handguns?
With unity.
You're forced here. Shush.
I got hairy legs and a big stick.
I want to drive one of your electric school buses.
I'm serious about it. Now, so you got over 50% going to stock buybacks. And the other percent, I think it's 42%. Let me see, 56, it's 38% goes to dividends, which is reasonable. But here's the point. After all is said and done, that leaves 8% of that $1 trillion for research and development. These Americans weren't fighting for dictators. They were fighting for democracy. They were fighting for the soul of the nation, for liberty and simple, fair play. Simple, fair play and decency. We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Folks, we got a lot of work to do. I don't only need you to get me elected, I need you once I'm elected. We celebrate the triumph not of a candidate, but of a cause. The cause of democracy. I don't only need you to get me elected. We have put together the most extensive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics. Democracy has prevailed.
They do not salute him. He is the president. The military did not salute him.
Take back the streets. It doesn't matter whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I yield myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them.
We can deliver racial justice. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. We can deliver racial justice. I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black. It don't have nothing to do. We can deliver racial justice.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking.
We can deliver racial justice.
We already have a nigger mayor. We don't need any more nigger big shots.
Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history.
We don't need any more nigger big shots.